What's going on, guys? I'm coming at you with another video, and today we're going to be taking a look at my true Draco deck profile. Now, this is the deck I play most more competitively in comparison to all the other decks, and this is actually one of my favorite decks to play of all time because of the draw power and because of all the power of the true Dracos and the ability to pop spells and traps and things like that. But I just want to talk about the deck itself and just quickly start off by saying that no, this deck is not dead. If you play true Draco, you will understand that the deck just became more consistent, and not having Masterpiece, although it does hinder it, it doesn't really wipe it off of the meta. So it's still gonna be present. You're gonna still see this deck at locals and at regionals, maybe YCSs. So I just want to share a little bit of the card choices and why I play them. So let's start off. Since this is I do play the Monarchs Rough, so we don't really have an extra deck. I just play tokens, to kind of mess with my opponent. So I'm gonna be talking about the main deck and the side deck and some of the reasons why behind it. So let's get into it. So starting off, I like to play 2 Mono Aguado. Now, contrary to a lot of people playing 3, I like seeing this card at 2 because you don't always you most of the time want to open with it, but at the same time you don't want to open too much with it. So I think 2 is like the perfect ratio for it. It being able to bounce itself back after Demise is just amazing. Next, we play triple Ignis Heat. Ignis Heat is actually like a really good card in the deck because it gets you your spells and traps from your deck or to your hand. So the thing about Ignis, I just want to point out, is you can't activate a true Draco spell if anti-spell is on the field. You just gotta add it. Next, we play double Majesty. Now, what really changed with Majesty is that you don't really have Masterpiece to search for anymore. Most of the time when you use Diagram, you're gonna be going into either Dynamite Fight or Ignis to get you more resources. Majesty herself isn't really a 3 of anymore because we have 3 Ignis who can generate you more resources on the field in comparison to Majesty. So most of the time we do either draw her or add her off Diagram. And finally, for the last monster we play, is I'm so happy that Dynamite Fighter is back. He, in my opinion, is my personal favorite because he lets you either add the true Draco traps or set them directly. So sometimes just putting down Apocalypse and Ignis and Dynamite Fighter, like the perfect combination to have on the field, because he'll get you the spells, he'll get you Apocalypse or Return, and Apocalypse will just keep popping the spells, to either pretty much have attack to protect them from battle damage, which if you have Diagram on the field already, they have to be destroyed twice. So that's basically it for the monster lineup. We play 2 Mono Aguado, 3 Ignis Heat, 2 Majesty Maiden, and 1 Dynamite Fighter. Next, for the spells, which is probably the most important part of the deck, you play triple Terraforming to search out your triple Draconic Diagram. This card's super important because it searches all your true Draco spells and traps or monsters. Triple Disciples, most of the time you're gonna be using this card late game. You'll most likely tribute summon with this, starting off or things like that. But what it does is basically lets you shuffle back 3 true Draco or true King card. Well, 3 true Draco or true King cards from your graveyard into your deck to draw 1. So it just replenishes your resources. And it's also important to notice, if this is your first time picking up the deck, that most of these cards are double summons. So it doesn't lets you tribute summon for a true Draco monster. So think of them as double summons. That's something people forget, and you don't necessarily have to activate them in that order. You can, for example, use if you have 2 in hand, you could tribute summon with 1, and then if that gave you your 3rd card, you could activate the other one and activate the effect to shuffle back 3. That's important to notice. Finally, the best draw card, in my opinion, from the true Draco lineup, of course, is true Draco Heritage, because depending on how many cards left the field, it's from true Draco cards left from the field, so the graveyard, that's how many cards you get to draw activating true Draco Heritage. That doesn't mean for example, if I send 3 Disciples, I can't draw 3. No, that means if I send a spell, a trap, or a monster, either with the name True Draco and in the card text, or in the title, I get to draw that many. So for example, if I sent an Apocalypse and a Disciples, I get to draw 2. Next, we play triple Duality. I like playing Duality at 3 because it basically lets you search out the top 3, and most of the time you just need that 1 extra card in True Draco. If you're a true Draco player, you understand Duality is really, really important in this deck because it'll get you that 1 Mono Aguado, or that 1 card you just need to continue, or that 1 card you need to push through. Next, we play triple Demise. If you have you activate it and you draw until you have 3 cards in hand. So most of the time you want to set all your stuff, then activate this to draw your 3 cards. The only downside to this card is you can't your opponent takes no damage this turn. So I mean, you can still destroy their monsters, but they take no damage. So it kind of prolongs their defeat, in a way. But yeah, finally I only like to play 1 Pot of Desires because you kind of only need one with so much draw power in this deck. you only want to resolve one because you play such a small monster lineup. And I find that Duality and Demise are much better draw cards in this deck, and I would rather see multiples of them than multiple of Desires. Because, you know, being ashed with Demise, you know, kind of does end your turn, but you still have your resources. So that's just my input on Desires. I only like playing it at one because I only want to resolve one per duel. Next, we play 2 Cosmic Cyclones because of the Diagram and Cyclone like chemistry that they have. You could activate Diagram to pop Cyclone in hand. You chain Cyclone to pretty much banish a card. So that's pretty much it. Plus Diagram still destroys it, so you get your search. And finally, we play 1 the Monarch Stormforth to tribute your opponent's monsters. So the important thing, like, you get to tribute one of your opponent's monsters. It does count as your normal summon, but if you do have True Draco Apocalypse, you could activate this, then activate True Draco Apocalypse effect to tribute summon your opponent's turn. You could tribute one of your opponent's monsters, so that's pretty cool. So that pretty much wraps it up for the spell lineup. Now let's get into the traps, which is like what makes this deck what this deck is, because of all the like floodgates and things like that. So we play triple True Draco Apocalypse because it lets you tribute something to your opponent's turn, and when this card is sent, like, oh, I forgot to mention, so when the traps are sent from the field to the graveyard, they pop monsters, and when the spells are sent from the field to the graveyard, they pop spells and traps. So these, like, when this sent from the field to the graveyard, it pops a monster. What's so interesting about this card is that you can destroy a face-up True Draco or True King card you control to half all your monster's opponent's attacks, which is permanent. So for example, if you were to have a Blue Eyes White Dragon, for example, he'll be 1500 from now on, and you have to like destroy another card other than itself. So for example, that's why Ignis Heat and Dynamite Fighter are so important, because Ignis Heat can get you Disciples, and Dynamite Fighter can get you Apocalypse, and you could basically, before you enter the battle phase, you know, of course they have to activate something. He'll like you contribute the Disciples to pretty much have your monster attacks to protect your True Dracos. And when True Kings return, I'm just so glad Dynamite Fighter is back, because you can like instantly like activate this card using Dynamite Fighter's effect. Like this card is like so good in my personal opinion, because it lets you, during like, you just kind of special summon like the turn you use it. So that doesn't really matter. You use it during your opponent's turn for defense or offense at the end of their turn. Next, one of the biggest floodgates in this whole deck is the Monarch's Eruption, because it completely shuts down your opponent's plays while allowing your True Draco to continuously activate their effects. So all monsters' effects are negated except face-up tribute summon monsters. So that's pretty much it. If it's not tribute summon, its effects are negated. Finally, 1 skill drain, because it's True Draco. If you use this if you're desperate, and you just basically beat down at that point. Next, double anti-spell, because although it doesn't really hurt Altergeist, it does kind of hinder Goki's like playstyle, because it won't be able to activate that rematch that they so so heavily search, and they won't be able to like brandish Maidens if they don't have the out to anti-spell. You just get to beat them next turn. And finally, we play 1 Storming Mirror Force, because it's cheese and people don't expect it, and I got it from Team Samurai's build, and I really have enjoyed playing it ever since. So that pretty much wraps it up for the 40 card main deck. Now let me talk, since we play the Monarch Eruption, then we don't really play an extra deck. Let me talk a little bit about the side deck. For the first cards in the extra deck, in the side deck, we played double sphere mode because of those Goki boards that can instantly negate. That's most likely if you're going second, of course. If your opponent plays a deck that wants to go first, you side these in going second. Also, for going second, we take out the anti spells and we put in double board wipes, because you know, at that point, we just want to beat our opponent down completely. So, a Regeki and a Dark Hole. Next, I don't have Infinite Impermanence or Evenly Matched, but this is what this would probably be. Instead of Twin Twisters, which I played for Altergeist matchups and things like that, when they flip their anti-spells, I side in 3 Twin Twisters, because of course Altergeist want to go first, and they're gonna set floodgates just like you as a True Draco player, so you want to have the response for that. So basically, yeah. So Evenly Matched would honestly be a better card in my opinion, but I don't have them. Next, I play triple red reboot, because when they red reboot you activating a trap during the standby phase, you gotta have the red reboot to respond. So it's actually really good, and it completely it gives your opponent allows your opponent to set one, but they can't activate their trap. So it's pretty much like a cold wave for traps, and cold wave's banned. So it just basically explains like how good this card is. I really recommend picking this card up. Next, triple D barrier for decks that play like Paleo or things like that. We don't have Masterpiece, so we can't just completely destroy them anymore. We have to like floodgate them out as well. So triple D barrier. And finally, for Evenly Matched and Trickstars, I played double Imperial and Iron Wall for going in like second. I'd like to main this card, but I don't think there's really enough decks out there that will completely like blow you out if you don't play it in the main deck. And plus, the floodgates you play in the main deck are a lot better than these. You know, these just don't allow you to banish. So Imperial Iron Wall pretty much just protects you from Trick Stars, or you're evenly matched. So that basically wraps it up for the extra deck and the main deck. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below about the deck profile. Are there any cards you guys would play? Are there any cards you guys recommend I look into? But that pretty much wraps it up for everything. Thank you guys for watching. I really appreciate it. Sesma is out.